Welcome back to Taboo Talk, the podcast that breaks the silence, fosters the hope, and tackles the tough stuff so you never have to feel alone. I'm your host, Sarah Jordan Ross. I'm a wife, I'm a mum to 3 amazing boys, and I love to have those conversations that most people are too afraid to start, those ones about life, love, trauma, healing, and everything in between. And I think today's episode really speaks to the heart of what I believe. Healing doesn't just happen in therapy rooms and hospitals. Sometimes it happens with our hands in the soil. Today, I'm joined by Bronwyn Holm, the incredible woman behind Earth Food, a soil conditioning blend that's become something sacred in our home. My son Lachlan and I used it to start our own garden this year, and honestly, it's more than a product, it's a philosophy. Dare I say, a quiet revolution. We're going to talk about Bronwyn's story, how Earth Food came to be, why nutrition starts with the soil, and what growing our own food has to do with sovereignty, mental health, and healing our communities, especially for families like ours raising neurodivergent kids. So grab a cuppa or head into the garden with your headphones in. This one's rooted in nourishment, both literally and metaphorically. Bronwyn, welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Hello, Sarah. Hello, everyone. Thank you. This is great. You know, it's really funny. I really appreciate you trying Earth Food out as you have been, because
it was so much fun.
Look, I really, there's a couple of things I would really like to stress to people, that we are at a tipping point in humanity where we need to start looking at food. I have in my talks, as you know, I travel all over Australia, and we will be looking at different parts of the world as of next year. What we found is the farming community is in trouble. We are not able to produce the food that we did in the 60s and the 70s, and it's no longer the food that works with our bodies as it should have been, by the way that God and Mother Nature, whatever your belief structure is,
Yep.
There was something bigger than us that's designed all of this in the first place.
Yeah.
So here's something that might be of interest, and that is getting the kids involved is absolutely so important, and understanding that seeds are not going to be available because the big seed vaults have been bought out by corporations. Well, one particular one.
Yeah.
And to start saving seeds, learn how to seed harvest, and learn what happens to the soil. So that's one of the key things we can do for our kids and for our own health as we go through into the future of the unknown.
Yes. So before we head into the future, can you take us back to the beginning? So what was it that planted that seed for you that made you want to start Earth Foods? And for those who don't know what Earth Food really is, if you could unpack that for us a little bit. But what was it that started your journey down this road of nourishing the soil and of growing your own food and those sorts of things? What lit that spark?
Well, first of all, it became my great-great-grandfather, Eggert Holm, came to Australia in the 1880s and was the senior head winemaker at Hermitage Estate Winery, which is quite a prominent vineyard here, internationally known.
They make some pretty good wine.
They should do. It started off with his microbes. So you had to make things in 36 to 48 hours, otherwise the microbes don't die, because these are nitrifying living soil microbes. They're not waterborne microbes as people would have in like worm juice or worm tea, for example.
Yep.
So these are different and they work with the soil. They heal it, they repair it, they turn it into chocolate brown fertile living soil. And this can only be done with these microbes, which truly is like they're just a God-given gift. They should just all be put back into the soil as what's meant to be there. But over like a couple of centuries, particularly the last one, we've actually lost them, particularly since the last World War, because of the overuse of desiccating chemicals, which desiccating means dry out. So these dry out the soil, dry out the plants. They dry out weeds, the whole intention of it, but they've killed everything. And now the soil is very, very sick, including covered with acid rains. And for those of you who want to learn about geoengineering, that's also hurting Mother Nature's skin. So anyway, I was lucky to work with a soil scientist who we were able to get this to be able to live up to 10 years in a bottle now. And the reason is because they're suspended. They're made in a controlled environment in a cold temperature. And that means that when we wake them up with water, it's the hydrogen in water, like H2O, that can bring them back to life and move, and then they multiply by 9 billion, by 9 billion, by 9 billion. So that's pretty fast. And they can go into the soil and do their job. But here's the thing, no one understands what soil is. Like, Sarah, what do you think soil is? And it's a tough question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
and I know that we don't have the nutrients in the soil that we once did, and that's why we're not getting the same nutrients in our food. But apart from, it's that layer of stuff underneath the grass that keeps us all. So I think of it like layers of the skin. You've got that surface layer, but it's what's happening underneath that's a bit more important than just what's happening on top, because what's happening lower down shows on the outside. But I hadn't thought too far about exactly what makes up the soil and why making sure it's microbiomes, as well as I talk about making sure that our gut microbiome is as healthy as it can be because of the knock-on effects that has. But until I met you, I hadn't really thought too much about the Earth's microbiome, like about the soil and how that can affect. But I did see firsthand with my son Lachlan when we put in the garden and we prepped it with earth food. I have never seen a veggie garden take off so fast. And some of them are just huge.
It's because you're working with Mother Nature. It's like when people say, I'm going on the carnivore diet, I'm going on the Atkins diet, whatever. And then a week later said, I feel so good. I feel amazing. Well, you know what? It's not the fact that they're on the carnivore diet. It's the fact they've stopped eating ultra-processed foods. Now, it's the same with the garden. It's not that the earth food is making bigger foods. It's just that we've stopped using the chemicals and the processes that actually hurt the soil. That's the difference. So, well, what is soil? As I started to say before, well, when I die, I will be put back to 87 minerals in the soil. I will break down into 87 minerals. Anything that has had a living life before, leaves, insects, birds, whatever, people, when we die, we actually break down to minerals. We are part of the earth. We are part of this system. We are a system within a system within a bigger system. And when we go to a doctor, funny enough, they'll say, okay, Sarah, I can hear what you're saying. Let's just check your bloods. Let's see what's going on. And a naturopath as well. So your results will come back and they say, you need more magnesium. You need iron or zinc. Hang on, we've got to look at your heart at the moment. We're going to boost you up on potassium. It said, well, these are all minerals. Where do you think that comes from? The soil.
And most of it comes from what we eat.
Exactly. And here's something you want to think of too. In Australia, in one of the southern states, there was a report done by an international company in 2022. It was on the fresh food that was sold in the big food distribution channels. They checked out after a year, and the results were that 67% of that fresh food had no nutritional value. And the largest diagnosis right now in GP rooms is scurvy, lack of vitamin C. So how do we have
That's
that
a little scary.
in a time like this? We have knowledge. We think we're eating good food. We think we're doing the right thing. But here's the sleight of hand, that all the food now is not growing with living microbes and hasn't done. And we wonder why children's brains are broken. We wonder why we are sick and why we are dying slowly. We wonder why we hurt and cry and feel too much pain. And it's because our bodies and our ancient gut biome within us is starved. The food that should be feeding that is not available. The things that are to make us have a healthy life now is like, where do you go? So this brings me to the next topic. Well, what happens? Why aren't plants taking the, as I said, the minerals or the soil? Because it's all not bioavailable. These microbes make the soil bioavailable. And that's why your lettuces are standing tall, got crunch, got amazing taste, because they're working with nature.
So much more flavour. We even grew little baby carrots, and just the difference that we noticed in the flavour of those. And we grew spinach and silver beet, and it's still going. So hopefully it will all survive a couple of Tasmanian frosts, but that's a challenge for another day.
That's the thing. Yeah. Well, these are not waterborne microbes. Waterborne microbes would probably die in very cold temperatures, or if they dry out, because they're not soil microbiome. So soil means that they go in a cold time, they'll just go down deep. In a dry drought, they'll just go down deep, and they'll just keep doing what they've always done. When you have your first day of spring down there where you are, they'll actually start to come up and do more work on the surface area. And that's why in Mother Nature, you get a real whoosh of all these flowers popping and all these things starting to grow up on those first few warm days of spring. And that's the microbes in the soil saying, come on, guys, action, showtime, let's go. Yeah, it's amazing.
And I know I'm loving learning again what things are in season when, and trying to jump back into that, because I remember as a kid, and I'm going to show my age, but that's okay, that certain fruits and vegetables were only available at certain times of the year. Like wintertime, you always got oranges for netball. So it was like, that must be the time when oranges grow. Or, berries and watermelon, they're a summer thing. But now, because of how it's harvested, we get all of those things year round, and I doubt that very many actually even know when is the right season for what.
Well, look, we do an email out to all our members once a month, and it tells them what's going on, what some of the things that they can do. It's just very, very easy, very fast, because we know that everybody's busy, and I never do a Black Friday special. So if people want to get that information, they just need to go to our homepage, yourearthfood.com, yourearthfood.com, and just go down to the bottom of the page and join our community. This information I send out, you will not find in the local newspaper, for example. We try very hard to write things that are helpful, productive, and future-proofing our nation. The reason being is because we are at a tipping point for our health and what we are doing as a humanity. And one of the things, and you mentioned, I don't know what seeds to plant in these seasons. The thing is this, we're going to have to start learning how to hand harvest our seeds. We're going to have to actually start buying seeds and store them. Right now, there are laws in different parts of the world where you cannot share your seeds with your neighbor. You'll be put in jail. And that's because of the changes that are coming through now. And it's all there in plain sight. You can go and look all this up. I'm not making it up. The control is over the food, the agriculture, and the seeds. You see, once you've got control over that, you've got control over everything. So this is where we're at. This is happening now. And right now there are these new laws that have come into South Australia where every single farmer right now has to do an auditing report. This has never been done before. And that includes the number of what seeds you're using and how much you've got and where did you get them from as part of this biosecurity, in my mind, overreach. But anyway, that's my opinion. And
you're
what we're
entitled
looking
to
at,
it.
sorry?
You're entitled to your opinion.
Well, I do have quite an opinionated view on things, only because I've seen so much. If I just stayed in my own backyard and just got the local media, I would have the normal sanitized news that everyone else in my state. But because I'm on the road, I see the whites of these farmers. I'm involved in farmers' events. I'm involved in community gardens and what's going on. I speak to gardening clubs. I am everywhere, literally from cities right across to regional areas. I hear it all, and I'm pretty well informed right up to the back teeth on the real stories of the grassroots, what's really happening. And to be honest, I'm starting to think maybe I should write a book on this right now, because there is trouble in Denmark, let me say. Anyway, it is important that we learn these things. It is not difficult. And when you work with Mother Nature, she supports you. That's her job. Her job is to make sure you live well. She wants you to live well. And even your ancient gut biome, which is the same as the living earth food microbes, they are the same. They're ancient. They're the same ancient microbes. You remember when we were little, and I know you're a bit younger than me, but we all grew up making mud pies, right? Well, that's all part of the ancient biome. So we've got big big paws on the soles of our feet, and that when we're walking in the mud, that's actually bringing in the ancient gut biome. We've also eat the food when we're first born, we're breathing it in, and so on and so forth. So this is actually how we live. If that dies in us, we die. And if it dies on the planet, which right now it is, we will die. We need the soil microbes in there to make the food high density nutrition food for us. We also need the plankton in the sea. Without the plankton in the sea and the microbes in the soil, there is no us. And this is what people are failing to understand. The tiniest entities on the whole planet is the glue to our survival. And, you know, it's quite okay for some countries who want to try their nuclear bombs in the middle of the atoll ocean and blow stuff up. And we've got microplastics. The size of countries where the two hemispheres meet over, the massive, massive mountains of plastic. That's all in the soil. It's actually in us now. We've got them in our livers, in our heart, in our bloods, and we need to start reviewing. Well, hang on, is this acceptable? Are we going to stand for this, or are we going to stand up and say no thanks? And that's pretty much the earth food movement. So we're more than a product, we're actually a movement. We are more like trying this to educate people what is really going on, how they can, and we can't save the world, okay? It's just way too messy, way too big for what we can do. But what we can do is exactly what you're doing, Sarah. You can look after your square meter on the earth.
Yeah.
You can put the microbes back where they're supposed to be. You can have your high density nutrition to feed your gut and brain, and you can have a better health, a healthier, longer life, and you can contribute to community. By contributing to community, you're actually bringing other people together. We are no longer an island. We cannot afford to be an island. We must be part of our own community, a larger community, even an international community. There is time now where we all need to be holding each other's hand, have a shoulder to cry on, have each other's back, pat each other on the head when we've done good. And this is really, it's more like a spiritual thing than just an economy thing. And I think it's time that we opened our hearts and started working with Mother Nature and be responsible and accountable. And if we're living and walking on this planet, we need to be paying attention now. Now is the time. We all need to do better now.
Yeah. We need to remember that we are all intimately connected, and whatever affects one of us affects all of us. And I know that lots of people are, like I did, starting to return to having their own gardens and to reclaiming that connection to the earth, because let's be honest, a lot of us have lost it. And when was the last time you walked outside barefoot or
Exactly.
just got your hands in the dirt like you did when you were a kid, or like our kids still love to do? Like my littlest one, give him a shovel and a spot in the backyard and he's happy. He was supposed to be cleaning up after the dog, but he decided he was going to go and dig a hole somewhere else instead. And it's like, yeah, all right, at least he's doing something. But what do you think
That's
is
good.
part
So
of why we've lost that?
So just to come back to that, these microbes have a frequency of 7 to 12 hertz, which is the same as a bee's wing when it makes the honey antibacterial and lasts for thousands of years in like pyramids, for example. But we also know that this frequency,
The heart
if we
vibrates
have
around about that too.
that's right. So if you lay this on, like if you spray this on your lawn, you can lay on that for 20 minutes to reset your nervous system. People don't know that. And it's all, that's exactly what you were saying, is that moving across into a time now where we can reclaim having some personal space, hugging a tree. There is a movement through Japan and even here in far north Queensland in the rainforests. There, it's called forest bathing, and it is going into the deep part of forests and allowing that compound, which is in that cold mist. It's so fine, that mist. It just comes and you can breathe it in. That compound is part of the nervous system in us, and it's actually lowering the cortisol, lowering the blood pressure, lowering the vortex of our heart, spinning that blood. It is calming every cell. And that's why when you walk into a rainforest, you just feel the world melt off those shoulders. And I think we need to be reviewing that more and more.
Yes, I think we all need to find that space to quieten down, to calm down, but also to connect to ourselves and to something bigger than ourselves, and to remember that, well, every organ in the body vibrates at a different sound and light frequency. So does everything. Everything has that energetic vibration, and everything affects everything else. So that's part of, if we want to build a healthy world, we need to first start with ourselves, then with our communities, and then it will have that ripple effect because we are all connected. So, Bron, I have a question for you. If Earth Food had a voice, what would it whisper to someone standing in their backyard, hands in the dirt, wondering if they're doing enough? And what's your deepest hope for the future of food farming and families?
Okay.
Big
I would,
questions, I know.
first of all, yeah. First of all, I'd say freedom, where you actually have choice, and you can choose what you want to do with your garden and what you're growing, and you will grow well. The thing is this, when you're working with Mother Nature, she will make it work for you. I've been on the road. I'm always on the road, but my last tour, I didn't open my laptop for 1 week because I was either driving or flying or in non-Wi-Fi area. I just opened it this morning, and there are literally hundreds of emails of people telling me their earth food story. And I just flipped through a couple trying to find your link. And I just thought, oh my gosh, how do you package all this to tell the world that Mother Nature is looking after us? How do we do that? Maybe there's some bright person out there who has some ideas. But, I think when we just leave all those things, if you're buying from a bottle or a packet or a tube to put into your garden, if it's water soluble, you are probably making sure you don't get the results. And I know that sounds quite bold. There is so much evidence. Water-soluble products going up the drinking structure of the plant will bring insects, pesky weeds, and compacted soil. If you're just putting back the microbes into the soil, that's all you will be doing, putting the microbes back into the soil, and let it go. Just let it go. All you have to do is make sure that you water it when the soil is dry. Make sure you've got sugarcane mulch or something covering that soil so the sun isn't penetrating in on those microbes and killing it and drying it out. Look, anyone can do it. You've got kids, they're doing it. I've seen videos of them doing it.
Yes, they've had lots of fun. Although Lachlan did say, because it's been a bit cold the last week or so, we've got to get back out into the garden because our plants are growing really, really well. Unfortunately, so are some of the weeds, which reminds me I need to get, because you do have a product that helps with that as well.
It's a pine oil desiccant, so it's a glyphosate free. I brought that to market because here we are trying to put life back in the soil, and then people would say, "Oh, I need to get that product, that is glyphosate," and that's the very thing that kills the microbes. That kills the microbes. Yeah. So, and that's like one of the top #1 products that gets sold in the big warehouses. So we're defeating the purpose here, and that's the reason why we're in this tipping point and why we have like biblical proportions of insects going across backyards right now. If we started using more microbes in the soil, and like I said, ours are living soil microbes with earth food, they will make your soil chocolate brown, fertile, living soil. When it is like that, you don't get the pesky weeds and you don't get the insects and compacted soil. What I would like to say to you, Sarah, is just check out what kind of weeds you've got. You may have medicinal weeds, and I have a weed pesto that I send out to our audience from time to time so that they can identify plantain and ones like this. Plantain has the highest level of omega-3. So that's a really good thing. And here we are, round up all of our free medicine on the ground that Mother Nature has given to us. So if you've got pesky weeds, that's a different story. And that just means you need more earth food on the ground, and that will repair, because pesky weeds don't like chocolate brown, fertile, living soil. They like dry, dead, crumbly soil.
Grass likes it though.
Grass likes it. Yes, I know. I'm sorry to say, but your Jeff is going to have to mow the lawn more in the summer. Nice problem to have, though.
Yeah, and on one of our garden beds that we were preparing, and looks like we didn't quite get rid of all of the grass that was in there, and it's growing quite nicely.
Yeah, you might want to pull some of that out. But yeah. Well, we've got a speaking tour going all through Tasmania coming up. It's on our website, yourearthfood.com events. And we've got, I think we've got some coming up in Sydney region and up through the southern state of New South Wales. I'm just heading off tomorrow to Perth in Western Australia. We've got a few over there and more to come. And look, seriously, and this is not sustainable for me to be chopping around on planes and, planes, trains and automobiles? It's just, it's not
great movie,
sustainable.
but not necessarily a great lifestyle.
It is very difficult, and I juggle the balls as I go through all the time. But, I'm also getting older, and the point of this is that we need the younger people to start stepping up and to start looking at working in their backyards or in their parents' backyards, or even if they decide they're going to be a homesteader, that this is something we can help them with. But we're also looking for stockists, and we're also looking for people to carry earth food. Doesn't matter if they sell it from their backyard garage, like an old Amway or the was it Avon, the Avon's method?
Yeah, they used to come knock on your door.
Yeah. So that, you can sell from your garage, or you can sell from your big shop, health food shop or whatever. But yeah, that's what we're looking for right now. And that also includes international markets now.
Yeah. Well, I'll put all of those links to your website and everything else on our show notes, so that people will be able to get in touch with you if getting their hands on earth food, and maybe helping others to get their hands on it too, because I know it's made the world of difference for our garden. And my mum could grow just about anything. Unfortunately, I did not inherit her green thumb. One of my sisters did, which is great, but I'm not so good at growing. But with what we've done, like prepping the soil and then just feeding it earth food, it's made it easy. And getting out there with my kids and learning more about how things grow, when they grow, has just,
and you know what, this is
made
part
gardening
of it.
fun where it never used to be. It was like, it's hard work, and I don't get to grow anything properly anyway, but now it's like, actually, I just let it do its thing, and it grows really well if it gets that preparation.
Yeah, so we don't need to be doing much. I mean, I work, 7 days a week and 15-hour days, and I do my gardening by floodlight at night. And so I don't have a lot of time, and I just let the microbes do the job. All I do is water my garden. It's 1 hour a week, and it's quite a big one. And every 3 weeks, I just spray the microbes on the leaves. That's it. I don't have any more effort than that, except harvest what we're going to have and give away.
Yeah.
They always have too much.
I'm hoping that one day we will get to that, but at least at the minute, because we just started small. But yeah, it started as an experiment to see, because Jeff had been talking to you about earth food and how it all worked, and it's like, well, let's give it a try and see. And now it's we need more of that. And okay, we had 2 little garden beds that we did, and now we're going to extend that and do a few more.
Exactly. And you can grow in pots too. I've got 5 big garden beds, and I've 60 pots of food, and they're quite big. And the reason being is up here in Queensland, where we have very dry, hot Februaries, like you just stand still and the moisture just gets sucked out of the pores of your skin. And then we have these rainfalls which drown roots. So I move pots around, or I put beach umbrellas up, or I move things around into more filtered light as opposed to out in the sunlight. And what a lot of people don't realise too is with the geoengineered weather that we're going through across Australia and the world for that matter, that there are chemicals and components of that spray, which is like putting the sun through a magnifying glass. So I'm seeing plants right now that are being sunburnt that have never been sunburnt before. I'm seeing, I don't know if you've noticed when you go out in the sun, you can actually feel your upper dermis sting with the sun piercing through down into the layers. And
Tassie sun
what we're
bites anyway, which is something
Sorry?
that not everybody. Tasmanian sun. So I grew up on the Queensland New South Wales border, moved to Tassie. Tassie sun bites, and it bites harder than Queensland sun,
Right.
which is very unexpected. That's partly because we're closer to the hole in the ozone layer and a few other things. But yeah, Tassie sun bites, and I don't think it's just that I'm noticing it more as I get older. But yeah, here it's the don't go out in February without sunscreen on because you will get burnt. And so does just about everything else.
So anyway, that's
because farming is not an easy gig at all. That's a little scary. Yeah. Other ways of doing things. Yeah, and community makes a huge difference to everything we do and to how we feel. And I know you were talking about kids having a gardening program at school. Sorry, we'll just no, that wasn't. My phone just decided to ring when I didn't want it to. I thought I'd turned it off, but I hadn't. No, my kid's school has a garden program. Yeah. So my kid's school has a garden program, and they'll go out there a couple of mornings a week before class starts and get in the garden, and they were teaching them all about how things grow. And I love that they actually got their hands dirty, and that was where Lachlan started showing an interest in gardening, and then he helped out on a land care project that the school did. So knowing that gardening's a thing that lights him up, it's like, right, well, we'll start doing it at home as well. But it's all those little things and joining in with other people who are doing a similar thing and starting those conversations, because not everybody does know when things are in season, or not. I'm sure a lot of people would have been shocked to hear how many of our farmers are not coming back after the floods, the droughts, because farming's a tough gig, and I could be wrong, but it seems like it's only getting tougher, and we should start doing what we can to. Yes. Yeah. Yes. No, that's a topic for another day, and we just might get you back to go down that particular rabbit hole. But for now, I want to thank you for being here and for sharing your wisdom with us, for showing up with so much heart. What you're doing isn't just soil science, it's soul work. It's remembering who we are, where we come from, and what it means to grow something ourselves and to grow something with love. To everyone listening, this conversation is your permission slip. Go plant that seed. Go get your hands dirty. Reclaim what your body, your spirit has always known. Healing starts right under our feet. You'll find all of the links to Earth Food and Bronwyn's beautiful work in the show notes. So make sure you reach out to her and support the amazing work that she is doing. And even just tell her the fun that you're having in the garden, because I'm sure she would love to hear that. Share this episode, and let's keep weaving that web of community, nourishment, and quiet revolution of talking about all of those things that we all go through, that we all experience, but we don't always talk about it, so not everybody knows what's going on. So as always, stay bold. Keep breaking the silence. Share your story, because your story matters, and you never know when it might be your story that changes things for someone else. I'm Sarah Jordan Ross, and this has been Taboo Talk.